You probably heard breakfast is the most important meal of the day, or you should have your protein shake straight after your workouts. Don't eat any carbs at night. If this is something you've heard before, this video is for you because it isn't true. Okay, welcome back. Thanks for hanging in. This is the fourth video. Finally, I found time to make this video. It's the video about meal timing, the importance of when to eat your food. Because if you haven't watched any of my dieting series yet, click over here. Make sure you watch that video first. In the first video, we talk about calories. Then we talk about, what else are we talking about? Tracking your progress and macronutrient split. So this is the fourth one I said. This is my fourth rule of dieting, which I always praise on, and that is meal timing. Now, when you watch the intro, you're probably thinking, what's this guy talking about? Breakfast, isn't that the most important meal of the day? Or, when you're sort of into building muscle and into the gym sort of scene, you always hear, yeah, I need my protein shake because after half an hour is your window of building or losing muscle. Let's hork down the protein shake. Or, don't eat any carbs after 6 p.m. because otherwise you're going to get fat. When I hear that, I just think, guys, you're totally missing the freaking point. Because advertising, the companies out there, they want you to believe certain things to buy certain products. Let's start with the whole breakfast idea, right? The whole cereal industry is depending on you believing that is the most important meal of the day, because otherwise people wouldn't buy cereal. And that's, if you think about it, it's a massive market. Look out there how many cereals are out there. But I'm going to talk about this in more detail. It's just one thing I wanted to mention. And the protein shake bit, the same thing. If you believe that you're going to lose muscle, the protein shake industry, guess what? They're going to rub their finger and I got another guy who's paying some money to get some more protein in, right? And then the whole carb at night thing, that's just scarcity, at one point. Now, okay, so let's start over with why are we here today, right? Why are you watching this video? Because meal timing is something, it is very important, but it is not the most important thing. So first of all, I'm going to talk about, if you haven't seen my 500 rep challenge video, I urge you to watch that as well, because that's why this whole series just came about. Now, I'm going to tell you exactly what I did myself in this 500 rep challenge to get these results, because dieting or watching your diet is really important, and also meal timing is important. But I will present you two ideas which work equally well, but just to, I know there are going to be some haters out there and say, Mark, you don't know what you're talking about. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day, la, 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 la. First of all, I want to get something out of the way. The idea of eating 1 meal a day or 6 meals a day, that has now been proven scientifically, and if you want, I'll happy to put some stuff in the show notes, that there is no weight loss benefit of eating 3 meals or 6 meals a day. There was a study which I recently read. I also quoted in my 12-week athlete, and so the amount of meals doesn't matter freaking at all. You can eat your calories in 1 meal or you can eat it in 20 meals a day. It freaking doesn't matter. It is more important that you know what calories you're taking in. Now, talking about the breakfast idea, that skipping breakfast isn't good, this is a very, very controversial topic, and I'm very much aware of this. So you've got a whole bunch of research backing up that eating breakfast, so eating your biggest meal, eat like a king, and this whole saying will help you lose weight. And then, at nighttime at 6 o'clock, you eat your most little meal. So you've got a bunch of research backing up that's how you will lose weight. And then you've got a bunch of research saying, well, if you skip breakfast and if you eat just a big meal at night, you will lose weight. And then you've got a big research in the middle, a big bunch of people who say, you know what, it freaking doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you skip breakfast. It doesn't matter if you eat breakfast. There is no significant benefit in terms of weight loss at all. So now here you are at now, like, well, great, Mark, you're telling me you're skipping it or not skipping it. It's, it doesn't freaking matter. No, it doesn't. And I've tested myself, and I will now talk about this in more detail. So the first, one more thing, which is really important, guys. I want you to get this. Meal timing isn't as important as the other videos I showed you. Like the calorie intake is the very first thing which is important. You need to make sure that you're in a calorie deficit to lose weight and a calorie surplus if you want to gain weight or build muscle. That's the very first rule you need to stick to. Now, then comes this whole idea of, your macronutrient split, how many carbs and fats and proteins. We talked about this. That is also important. The more simple ingredient the food is, the better. But there was this study I showed you that you can also lose weight on a Twinkie, donut, and Dorito diet. And now the third component in this whole thing is meal timing. So it's a bit of in a hierarchy order. Meal timing is, it basically means when should you be eating your meals. So this is the hierarchy. First comes the priority is on the overall calories you're taking in. Surplus means you are eating more, you want to gain weight, you're in a deficit if you want to lose weight. That's the first priority you're looking at. Then comes the macronutrient split in terms of what kind of protein, fats, and carbs this is all made up of. And then comes the meal timing in terms of prioritizing your whole overall diet. So if you're focusing on, let's say, intermittent fasting protocol or like a fasting protocol, the fasting protocol is not going to make you lose weight. It is the overall calorie consumption. That is something you need to sort of understand. And John Bernardi, a very well-respected doctor in the US, he wrote his whole thesis, and his whole research project is just about meal timing. And I actually heard him talk about this live. And it's really interesting what he pointed out. And this is one of the things he points out. He says meal timing is important, but it's not important for someone who is freaking, who's not a top athlete. For them, meal timing is important because they need certain energy at certain times. So if you're like a marathon runner, or if you are a weightlifter, or whatever kind of athlete you are, you need to make sure that you have the right amount of nutrients at the right time. But if you're just the average Joe who does a bit of workout at one day, or your goal is to lose weight, meal timing ain't that important. Okay, so I want to present you two ways of how meal timing can work. And my assumption is we're not absolute athletes, we're just average people, sort of average people who work out and want to lose weight or gain muscle. That's sort of the standpoint I'm looking at. If you're a top-notch athlete, I'll talk about this later, what you will do then. So the very first idea we will think of is for everyone who believes what I just said is all bullshit with the breakfast, skipping breakfast, and you should eat 6 meals a day. For all of these believers out there, if you're still believing that and you haven't read the research or any study yet, that is fine. It works still as well. So what do I mean? So the first way you could do it is you can eat breakfast, you can have a snack, you can eat lunch, you can have a snack, you can eat dinner and have a snack. And you will lose weight if you stick to your calorie target. So that's the very first thing the very first thing I propose. So that's the normal, regular way of everyone knows, that's what you've been preached and told, and this is how you're going to lose weight. Eat as often as possible, and Now the problem with that is, guys, I've done it that way, and I've done it the way I'm going to propose after this. That when you eat 6 meals a day and you're on a calorie restricted diet, your meals are going to be tiny. And I don't know, if you're like me, if food enters my freaking mouth, I'm hungry. My insulin spikes and my body turns into, I need food. I want to eat. And I just hork down masses of food. I easily overconsume food when I have breakfast first. Because breakfast, even though when people say, it kickstarts your metabolism and all that stuff, that ain't true as well. Nothing kickstarts your metabolism in terms of if insulin gets spiked or not. There's nothing to do with that. But this is just me, right? So when I eat breakfast and then I have a snack and then I have lunch, at lunchtime, I already ate my 2,000 calories. I can guarantee you that. So it was always troubling for me sticking to a, let's say, diet or like a sort of restricted calorie intake by following the 6 meals or 3 meals a day with eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner. but it still works. So that's what I want to point out. It does work. Now the second protocol we're going to be talking about, when I say protocol, I mean meal timing protocol, is intermittent fasting. Now for people who don't know what that is, intermittent fasting just means you have times of not eating, fasting, and times of feeding or eating, so feasting. So fasting and feasting. And these vary. So you've got these protocols, here we go, someone just saw the 500 challenge and left me a comment. Thank you very much. Now these periods, they vary. So a normal protocol is the 16-8, means you fast for 16 hours and eat and have an eating window for 8 hours. Then you've got the 18-6, the 24, and sometimes even the 23-1. So 23 hours of fasting and 1 hour of eating. These are all extremes, you can play around with them. I stuck to the 18-6, so 18 hours of fasting and 6 hours, round about 6 hours of eating. It isn't that massively important that you stick exactly to the 6 hour, and if it's 6 hours and 1 minute, you're not allowed to eat anymore. I mean, you know, just be realistic. Now, there are lots of benefits to fasting, which I will make another separate video on because it's, you know, this video is going to go on and on and on for it. But generally speaking, there are more benefits than just, you know, I mean, why would you do this at all? So benefits are you have an increased growth hormone level, increased testosterone levels, or it boosts testosterone level. It boosts your metabolic rate. It you know, it increases longevity, even that you live longer. There's so many benefits, but I'm going to link that video here once I've produced it. Here comes the other benefit rather than the one which is all backed up by science, because there are many ways of doing fasting as well. There's also this 5-2 diet where you eat 5 days and 2 days you're calorie restricted. You only eat 500 calories for 2 days. So that's also a way of fasting. It doesn't have to be within a day. It can also be in a week. You could also eat 1 day not, 1 day not. There are many ways of doing it, but the way I did was the 16-8 in 1 day. So 16 hours fasting, 8 hours eating. Okay, let's try this again. So I did 18 hours of fasting roundabout and 6 hours of eating. So now you know what intermittent fasting is in a nutshell. There's much more to intermittent fasting. That's why I'm going to probably release a series of intermittent fasting videos and the benefits in detail, also backed with science. But for now, all you need to know is there are many, many benefits to doing intermittent fasting. Now, I'm going to talk you through how I do it personally, and then I'm going to talk about why I think it's the absolute best way of going about it. So what I do is I stop eating at night at 10 a.m. I have my last meal, and I start eating the next day at probably 2 o'clock or 4 o'clock, depending on how hungry I am. And that is a 16 to 18 hour fasting window. Now, a good thing is I sleep most of the time, right? Because I went to bed maybe at 11, I woke up at 8. So I'm skipping breakfast, I'm not eating breakfast, and I'm waiting until it's 2 a.m. Now the thing is, I don't feel hungry really, because what I do is when I wake up, I'll drink a bunch of water first. So you're allowed to drink water, tea, and coffee. No sugar, no milk, no nothing in there, just plain. And then at probably 10 a.m. in the morning, I'll have coffee. And the good thing about a coffee is it suppresses hunger as well, which is great. And then at 2 a.m., I sort of probably get a bit peckish, you know, because I worked out as well. And then I'll have some fruit. So a banana or an apple, or a banana and an apple. And because that's more or less pure carbs, they sort of top off because, you know, you've got glycogen in your muscle and your liver that's going to be depleted throughout your sort of fasting window, and you're just topping that off with a bit of fruit. And then I still can go without eating anything, probably until 6 o'clock. And then I'll have my very first meal, quite a big one though, which is mostly meat, vegetables, and some carbs, all mixed together. And then at probably 9 p.m., so 1 hour before ending my feeding window, I might have some nuts or some fruit again. So that's generally how I go about it. And now that's just how I do it. Generally speaking, what is important is that in this feeding window, so from 2 a.m. to 10 a.m. or from 4 a.m. to 10 a.m., in that sort of eating time, You can have 2 big meals, you can have two or 1 big meal, 1 small meal, and 2 snacks maybe. However you want to do it. So however you want to do it, however you want to spend your calories in that time is really up to you. It is important, like I said before, that you stick to your calorie target of 100% even in this whole intermittent fasting. Now, why I think this is so great, and here comes the thing. I just, like I told you before, as soon as I eat food, I'm just like, I freaking eat, and I love eating. But what I hate is eating small meals. So when I know I can spend 1,000 calories or 1,500 calorie on one meal, that satisfies me. I really look forward to that meal because I know I don't have to really think about it. I can just freaking eat, and I don't have to feel bad because I know I've got a surplus of calories because I haven't eaten anything the whole day. So once I enter into my eating phase, I know I've still got like 2,000 calories or 5,000, 2,500 or whatever calorie allowance you have for that whole time. And that's just such a great thing to do. I just love it, because there's very little chance of overeating. Because in these times when you eat these big meals, you feel like you're like super satisfied because your tummy is full and you're on it. And I'm eating still single ingredient foods, like meats, vegetables, fruits, rice, quinoa, stuff like that. Like really good solid foods, and they freaking fill you up. Potatoes as well. So that's how I roll about it, and I think that's the major benefit of really doing it this way, is that you have something you can look forward to. Now I know you probably have a million questions of how to do this and so on, and because I want to produce a longer series of intermittent fasting videos, I urge you now to, in the comments, ask me anything you want to know about this whole way of eating. If you're skeptic about it, if you think it doesn't work, if you're doing it yourself and it is working, or if you have a question about anything I said so far, please leave a comment in the comment right now, because that's something I'm going to be taking on and talking about in later videos. So make sure you ask a question now. Also leave a like button leave a freaking like here if you think this is worth watching and if you enjoyed it so far. And if you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe because you don't want to miss out on all this valuable good content I'm producing here. So I'll see you in the next video, and make sure you leave a comment.